Okay, video's live. For some reason, the video wasn't taken before when I glued these heads on these two decoys, so I apologize for that. But what you're seeing here is two heads that are basically have been glued on to the two bodies. This one hasn't been done yet, so I can kind of show you. I have a flux brush. I have this wood glue, like it's like a Gorilla Glue or wood glue. Very, very strong stuff. And you take your brush and you just brush it all over the bottom of the head. And if you notice, I put grooves in there to act as little fingers to grip the head. And I put some grooves in here. Now, I couldn't get this head sanded down very far because you can see there's a knot in that head. Now, when there's a knot in the head, you're gonna have a problem putting the head on it as far as bringing it down. But I did put a little shelf in there. So I'm gonna show you what I can do with that one. These heads are gonna have to set up here before I can do the putty job that I wanted to show you. But simply lets me, maybe I'll just do this one here, since I now know that the video is running. I take my brush, be generous with the glue. It doesn't have to be, too careful. Put a lot in that groove in the center, because it's gonna act as a finger or a secure point for me. And I just put a lot of glue in there, right on here. And then I would kind of get it and, again, get into the glue. And you can see it's kind of thick stuff. Good stuff. And you can put it in here, put it in that groove that's in the back of that head, and work it around. Work it around to the front. Now there's plenty of glue on there. And I just wipe my brush off. Now I position my head. I got it marked up with a mark here in the back and two marks on the side as to where I want the head. You can see the positioning there. I just stick that head on there, kind of line it up with those lines. Press it down a little bit because I do want to have it pressed in pretty hard. Not too hard. I mean, that glue is going to take. But I press that in like that. Then I can take that flux brush again, clean it off. Clean it off as best I can. And maybe just run it around there again. Just run it around there to get that excess glue out of the way. We can obviously sand it later too, but right now, you just want to get it off of there. You don't want it on there. It's in your way. You just don't want that in there. It's a problem. So you just kind of keep cleaning your brush off and just keep pressing down on that decoy and work that glue around in that seam as best you can. Get rid of as much of it as you can. If you have to use your paper towel, use a paper towel with it. Just get that glue off of there. It's all excess glue. You can see right here, you can kind of see that head is kind of like sitting in there. It's kind of nestled in there a little bit. I just moved it back a little bit to line it up a little better. I'll bring it around front here so you can see it a little better. But you can see that glue is all around that head. See in here, it's all around in here. It's in the back, up in the back. It's up under the front, up under that neck. You can see up in there, and it's all around that side. You can see it sitting there. Now you can see how there's a gap in there. There's gaps in there because this is a low slung head. It's what you call I wouldn't say a sleeper, but it's casual. It's kind of laid back. It's a low head, snug. And you can see I've got it lined up in the back with a line. Got it lined up in the side with arrows. Very, very important that I have that line. I'm going to leave that alone. And again, after these glues set, let me get back in position here. We can do our putty. I use a smooth putty. I use it with as I always told you, a popsicle stick. And I just really move it all around that head. And on these heads, they're kind of, you want to make sure you follow the contour. You want it to come down and go up. This one here, you want it to come down and round out. This one I got to do a lot of work on. This one, this head's coming straight down pretty much. So I got to make sure I put some putty on there with my finger and just work myself around. If I had one here I can show you. Let me see. There's one down here I can show you. See, this is a merganser with the head on it. And as you can see, when you put the putty on, see I ran that putty around that neck with my finger. Just filled it in. Sometimes it even goes underneath the head if maybe there's a gap there where the glue didn't take. But you just take your putty, you wrap it all the way around the head, both sides, all the way around. You let it dry, or you wet it, and you keep moving it around and smoothing it out. So as you can see, there's a curve there. See that curve? How that thing comes right down and out. It doesn't come straight down and then out the body. It curves in and out of the body, and it works its way around the head, works its way up into the back under the neck. You can see it. See, it's almost seamless. And yet I'm going to be able to sand this, which is even further going to make that seam disappear, that head seam. Then you're going to seal the bird. And when you seal a bird, let me get back. When you end up sealing the bird, you use like a polyurethane or an acrylic sealer. It goes on the body. A lot of the stuff is what they call self-leveling, which means you just put it on here nice and heavy, and it kind of floats and kind of just levels itself out. So if there's any little dimples or imperfections or little spots that are high or low, it'll kind of just blend right up and around them. And then before you paint it, you put your gesso or gesso on. I don't know how they pronounce it. And that puts another surface on there. It gives the decoy some tooth, something for the paint to stick to. So between a couple of coats of sealer and that, around the putty seams or any kind of little hole you have where you got to fill it in with putty, they magically disappear. Let's put it that way. It's amazing how you don't see the seam on those birds. And you don't want to see them. You know, when you get a decoy, you want to see that decoy just kind of float, or just no line showing. You know, a lot of decoys will have a line in here because they hollow them. This one here, it's down along the bottom. You can kind of see it. This one is that way too. You can see along the bottom, there's like a line there. And of course, it's perfectly smooth. And when you paint it and seal it, that line will disappear. Now I keep looking at this head and keep pressing on it to make sure I got a nice tight bond there. Same thing with this one. This one I've got it actually clamped, so I'm not too worried about this one. But again, I can clean up whatever glue oozes out after the fact. And then when I putty, go around with the putty, I'm not going to be showing you that step because I can't do it until these things set. It just wouldn't be fair. The heads would probably move around on me. So that's basically it on this video. Maybe on the next one I can kind of show you, maybe I'll do a separate one on puttying because it does take time. You put the putty on, you wet any kind of a brush that you might want to use on it, like, you know, a little brush like this maybe that's got an angle on it, and you just kind of, as you put that putty on there, you kind of like wet that brush and just kind of work yourself down and around. Take your finger round and around, but you could also do it with a brush. There's some brushes called filberts which are curved, and you just take it and just kind of like blend it down and around the neck. Sometimes I'll even go down this way on the neck, and it'll actually put little lines running down from where I start to where I end. It's almost like saying you got this neck and it's kind of wrinkled neck, but it looks great on a decoy. But again, putty it with your finger or a popsicle stick. Eliminate that seam and just keep working it. You may have to do it 2 or 3 times, but that's okay. You want that thing to look good. That head on that decoy is really what draws people's attention. They see that head. When you put a good head on a decoy, you're more than halfway home, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, thank you for your time and your attention.